of us at Precision Defensive Solutions highly recommend to everyone who carries a firearm daily or has a firearm at home to protect themselves and their loved ones, get self-defense coverage in case the worst day of your life occurs. We trust our livelihoods to Firearms Legal Protection. They are now offering a discount and price lock through us for new members. There will be a link in the description to sign up or visit their website and use our code NCPDA. Thank you. God bless America.
Hi, this is Brandon and
Stephanie
with Precision Defensive Solutions, and we are here with Mr. Terry Johnson from Firearms Legal Protection. How you doing, Terry?
Hey guys, how are you?
All right.
I am locked down in my home still. They won't let me out.
I know, right? They might as well just drop bars in front of our doors, you know?
Yeah, and just slide us the bologna sandwiches and some milk and we'd all be happy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I know you brought this up earlier, and I thought this was a great topic to talk about. But the red flag laws that have been floating around for the last year or so. So
yeah,
let's talk about that a little bit.
well, the intent behind red flag laws, I think, is really, really good. The intent, but the way to execute it is truly a problem. Let me give you an example. So what happens is, under red flag, I go to my local police station, or whether I'm a family member, neighbor, and again, it varies by state. But let's say I'm a neighbor that just doesn't like you, Brandon, and we all know that couldn't be true because everybody loves Brandon and Stephanie, right?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
especially the people in our complex.
So what we do is, what a neighbor would do is go and complain that Brandon's a threat to himself or a threat to others, right? And there's one more trigger in there. They'll say, and he's got a gun. And then all the alarms go off. The police will come to your house. They will take your firearms. And now you have to prove that you're not a threat to yourself or others. How do you prove a negative? So let me give you an example. And most married people can understand this. You come home and let's say, you've got lipstick on your collar, or you've got a smell of perfume or something along those lines. At that point, your spouse may say to you, hey, what's going on? She has some proof at that point, right? You've got the lipstick, you've got the scent of perfume. Imagine it this way. Imagine if you just walked in and your wife said, you're having an affair, prove to me that you're not. How do you do that? How do you prove that you are not doing something, right?
I couldn't even imagine trying to prove that you're not doing something like that.
Yeah, and that's what red flag basically comes down to. You now have to prove that you're not a threat to yourself or a threat to others. And the burden of proof in most of these things is so low. So what do I mean? It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's what we call preponderance of the evidence. That means about 50-50. So if a judge says, well, he might be, or he may not be a threat, I'm going to err on the side of he's a threat, because he hasn't proven to me that he's not a threat to himself or others. Now, you've got no behavior where I've gone out and done things where, I'm streaking down the street, or, I'm firing guns off of my back deck or anything like that. It's merely an allegation, and your firearms are taken away. Now, here's the other downside of this law. Not only is it unconstitutional, but the burden of proof shifts. I have never seen, when the state comes in any other given moment that they're prosecuting or trying to take something from you, the burden has always been the state has to prove. In this case, it is you have to prove. So it is a huge, huge problem.
And what happens if you do prove that you're not a threat? Does anything, and you get your firearms back, does anything stay on your record?
Well, that's a great question. And again, that would depend by state. So I should get my firearms back, right? I should be able to, go on as if this never happened. But think about it, if neighbor on one side thinks one thing, doesn't like me, the neighbor on the other side doesn't like me, or how about this, and a lot of people can understand this one, what if I've got a mother-in-law that doesn't like me? Guess what? In some places, they can call and make these things happen. I had a conversation with someone running for president. I was in Detroit Metro Airport, and Elizabeth Warren, not one of my favorite people per se,
Right.
is walking by, and I just said, I want to mention something to you about red flag. And she said, what's that? I said, you guys are making a huge problem. She said, well, what do you mean? I said, the problem that you have is you want to take away the guns from the people. That's not the right thing to do. You need to take the people away from the guns. And let me tell you what I mean by that. If in fact I'm a threat to myself or others, you take my guns away, does that mean I can't get in my car and do something to someone? That I can't go under my sink and come up with some kind of mixture to, I don't know, blow something up, electrocute myself? So if I'm a threat to myself, all you're doing is basically saying, we're going to take the guns away from you, but you, sir, just go and enjoy life. Every single state has some sort of committal process for people that need some mental health. And that would really be the better way to go. So don't take the guns away from the people. Take the people away from the guns.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, we had a situation down here where a man ended up killing a woman. He had issues. I'd have to look up the story again. She was on her way to work, and he didn't know her, but he ran a red light, had a car accident. He got out of his truck with an AR.
Ooh.
And opened fire on her. The problem is he wasn't even supposed to be in possession of them, but they didn't confiscate his guns when they charged him. And unfortunately, an innocent woman lost her life over somebody who had a mental issue.
Right, but I'm sure it's probably blamed on the gun.
It was absolutely blamed on the gun.
Yeah, because no one would stop and say, well, you know what, this guy was so angry. What if he would have came out with a tire iron? Or, so really the main takeaway here is, it's not taking the guns away from people. It's taking the people away from the guns and ensuring that they get the help that they need. If you only take the gun away from the person, that person is not going to get the help that you claim you want for them. You're just taking a gun off the street. But if you truly care about the individual, take that person and go through the process that every state has that will allow you to do a mental evaluation on that person, so you'll know for a fact whether or not there are some issues there.
Right, and I think that's one thing I really like about Governor DeWine is he's really working to try to expand the mental health services in the state, which is good, I think.
Every state needs them.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
Because it's not, the gun is a tool.
Correct.
The gun doesn't kill people. People kill people. Because if we outlaw all guns, people will use a knife. They'll use, like you said, poison. They'll use a chair. They'll use a book. They'll use something if they want to do harm to somebody.
Right.
Well, and you realize, the first murder that took place in the Bible wasn't done with a gun.
No, it was done with a rock, wasn't it?
Exactly. So should we ban rocks?
That would be interesting. We won't have any countertops.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you said you had a question.
So with red flag laws, when you said that the police would show up to your home, what if you're not home? Could they show up to your place of work?
Well, the question, and again, it's going to vary by state, okay? Some states, like Michigan, had a proposal on the ballot, or not on the ballot, through the legislative branch that basically said, oh, well, we're going to give the person 24 hours once they've been given notice to turn the guns in. And my response is, so let me get this right. I'm so much of a threat,
That you're going to
right, that you're going to give me an extra 24 hours to bring all of my guns to the police station. And how is that going to look as I walk in, let's say, with a duffel bag full of guns?
Into
That
a police
makes
station where you're not supposed to have
Right.
guns.
Yeah, I mean, every state has a mental health facility and ways to handle this. And again, the question you have to ask yourself, is it the tool that you're more concerned about, or is it the person? If it's the person you're concerned about and their mental health, that they can hurt themselves or others, you want to follow the state that you live in, their guidelines, to help them get the help they need.
Right.
Do a gun grab, guess what? That's what red flag laws are all about.
Oh, yeah. So we need to fight against those. I mean, the intent, like you said, the intent's good, but execution's not always so good.
Correct.
So,
Absolutely.
well, thanks again, Terry. And we
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to see my two favorite people there in Ohio.
Yeah, you too.
You too.